Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Courtney Cronin here at Hallis. A lot to get into on today's episode. I guess we're not going to Arlington. We'll talk about that. We got to talk about, of course, injury updates for the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers ahead of this game. Some interesting names on that list. And, of course, preview this game and give our predictions on who we think is going to win. All that more in today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Courtney, it's getting lengthy in this whole stadium process. I'm tired.
Yeah, I think the announcement that comes out via a letter from Kevin Warren on Wednesday evening that lets everybody know that they're opening the search back up. Like, it's a lot of whiplash because it feels like every time there's a statement, there was a statement ahead of the Vikings game.
Yeah.
That, all right, sole focus, we're going to Arlington, goodbye Chicago. And then 10 wins later, they're now ahead of the biggest game of, the last couple years at Soldier Field. They dropped this massive news. And it's just like trying to unpack what it is right now, but also trying to sort through, because everybody wants to assign blame. Fans want to assign blame. Oh, it's JB Pritzker and it's the state of Illinois' fault. Oh, it's Kevin Warren and the Bears' fault for not having enough money to do this on their own completely. And the truth obviously lies somewhere in the middle. But I think the exhausting part is that while they say this is not a leverage play, this is in the letter. It is something that does feel like leverage because it's happening before the spotlight's on this team. The spotlight in the NFL, like from top to bottom, is on the Chicago Bears. They're a 10-win team right now. They take one step closer to the playoffs if they win this game. They have a 96% chance to make the postseason if they beat the Green Bay Packers at home.
Yeah.
So dropping this, just like they dropped that they were focused on Chicago and building a stadium south of Soldier Field the day before they draft Caleb Williams, I'm sorry, that does feel calculated. It does feel like it is a bit of a leverage play. I understand they feel like they probably had no choice because they've been met with a brick wall every time that they've tried to work something out with the state of Illinois, but you can understand the frustration from fans who are looking at the season saying, this team's a year ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
They're in a really good place. Why do we need stadium drama right now? But I get it. I mean, the spotlight's on your team. No better time to shift the national narrative to the state of Illinois. It's all their fault.
Yeah.
We're trying. So now we're considering other places like Northwest Indiana.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I think what's funny about this too is they go Northwest Indiana. A ton of Bears fans in Northwest Indiana, right? Like it's still a very heavy Bears population, but everyone who lives in Chicago kind of gets why people go to Northwest Indiana. It is for less taxes. It is for less cost on certain things, less cost probably to build there, right? Different things like that. And so there's almost this element where it's playing on the human part or the Chicagoan part of all of us where we go, well, I 100% get why people leave Chicago to go to Indiana. I just wouldn't leave Chicago. But is that why the Bears are like, I almost feel like there's two parts of this. One, I think it plays on the fans perfectly, and it does put it where we look at the state of Illinois and say, all right, y'all going to let them leave the state?
Mm-hmm.
And two, I think it plays on the humanity of Chicagoans who are kind of like, yeah, I get why, because of X, Y, and Z taxes, you would not want to build here.
Well, it shows, like, it's their way of saying we're throwing up our hands on this to a degree. We've tried everything we can do over the last 3 years to get a stadium built. Arlington Heights doesn't want to play ball and won't give us tax certainty that big businesses typically get. The city of Chicago and the state of Illinois won't do the same thing. Yeah. It's impossible to move forward moving the stadium south of Soldier Field. So now we're back to Arlington Heights, and we say we're going to try to break ground by the end of 2025. Well, that's 2.5 weeks away.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks away. They're out of options, and it feels like this is, I don't know if it's a Hail Mary, but it's their way of being like, to hell with the state of Illinois for putting us through this. Now, whether there's obviously some gray area there with what the Bears and what other teams should be on the hook for versus what the state's saying, like, we're not trying to make taxpayers pay for something that should be funded entirely by billionaire owners. But, it's exhausting because this shouldn't be happening right now. Yeah. That's the thing that I think frustrates. Like, the Bears and Ben Johnson have built something that is such a spectacle right now in a good way. They could beat the Green Bay Packers at home, biggest home game in years, maybe since that Rams game in 2018. And this focus like becomes, okay, they did that. But also look at the stadium news that we have. Like, it's a bait and switch. I don't like it in terms of the timing. I think that a lot of fans get frustrated with it too, because why couldn't this wait until after the new year, until after they're out of the postseason? And I get it. There's timelines that they feel that they have to, if they're going to try to make a push in the state of Indiana, just passing a bill about, the tax breaks that big businesses will get. And obviously we know about how the Colts built their stadium in Indianapolis and the tax breaks that they were able to get. The Bears feel like, all right, well, if we're getting met with a giant no from J.B. Pritzker, from the state of Illinois on all of our efforts, we have no choice. I get it. The timing sucks. The timing is tone deaf, and that's what it is. Like, there's I don't care how smart of a business person you are, timing's tone deaf.
Yeah.
Biggest home game in decades. Maybe not decades, maybe about a decade, 2018. And now you're doing this. I can understand why fans are a little perturbed about that.
You're taking the attention away of where it should be. And I feel like we have seen this a couple of times throughout this process, where the attention should be on the game. The attention should be on the state, or it should be on what the team is doing. And now the attention is on, okay, Mr. Kevin Warren, what are we doing here with this stadium? That, by the way, what's it been, 5 years now that we've been going through this process? Not with Kevin Warren, but
they agree in principle on the purchase 2021, like fall of 2021, and they close on the land February 2023. You can understand when people keep being told, hey, something's going to happen this year. We anticipate something's going to happen. We're told that dirt's going to be moved around. Like, the language keeps changing around it. And that creates the frustration from fans being like, are we ever going to see the Bears build a new stadium? I get it. I just think that the timing of this is capitalizing on the fact that the team is really darn good.
Yeah.
It's a PR move. It's PR 101.
100%.
Like, you have a great product. We want to push something through. Let's dump this big piece of news right now as they're getting ready to go play the Green Bay Packers. So when all of these pregame shows are happening, we're not only just talking about Jordan Love and Caleb Williams and no Micah Parsons and potentially no Rome Odunze, no Luther Burden, blah, 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 blah. We're talking about, hey, there's also the thought that the Chicago Bears, a team that's played in the city of Chicago at Soldier Field since 1971, the city which shares its namesake with the team, is going to be playing in Indiana. Like, in what world does that seem like a feasible idea? And it doesn't. That's why I don't feel like it's ever going to happen, and that's neither here nor there for today. But to not call it a leverage play, this is exactly what it is.
That was the best part of the whole thing.
I don't like the bait and switch on that. I don't.
I will say this, though. Like, you say you don't think it could happen. We've seen a lot of teams that don't play in the city that their namesake is.
Majority of NFL teams do that.
Of NFL teams are that way. I'll be honest with you. The leaving the state would be interesting, but I could see it making perfect sense for a business owner. I could see it making perfect sense for the Chicago Bears and what they're going to say financially. And guess what? We can all sit here and say, oh, we'll never go to a game there. Why would you ever leave the city? You're going. Fans are going to file in. Maybe not you specifically, but like, I could see it working for the benefits that it would bring to the Bears, the benefits, like you said, that Indiana has put through for big business coming there, the profit that it would bring Indiana. And I think if as a leverage play, it is a good play because of all of those things that are in place. And you have to now look at all the officials and go, are you going to let the Chicago Bears leave Illinois?
And that's what they're trying to do, because if J.B. Pritzker is truly running for president, I'm not trying to get political on this, but in 2028, you want to be the guy who let the
Bears leave Illinois.
Bears leave Illinois? Absolutely not. I mean, look at Lori Lightfoot. Look at where she is right now after her tone-deaf comments a couple of years ago about the Bears and the stadium and everything else. I mean, that's part of it. And I say this as someone who covers sports. Obviously, this is a part of it. This is the business element of it. But for it to distract from, or at least try to take away from the biggest home game they've had in years, does not feel fair to the product that this team has displayed this year. It feels like you're capitalizing on something that you probably shouldn't be right now and letting this moment sit on its own.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's a distraction. I don't think anybody.
No, the players don't care. The
coaches, whatever. They're locked in on beating the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
That's the important part. But optics-wise, it just doesn't look good from either side.
It seems par for the course for what we've seen here. I mean, you let Matt Eberflus walk up there for an interview or a post-game press conference, and then you fired him 2 hours after. You know what I mean? Like it's par for the course where we see these moments that you go, that's just not a great look.
Mhm.
But I think we have to kind of accept for everything that this team is built, and Kevin Warren is a part of that. I don't think Kevin Warren cares about how things look. I think he just cares about the results of it. And I would say, Courtney, as crazy as that is, that's kind of what this Bears organization has become. Ben Johnson doesn't care how the game on the field looks, as long as it says W at the end of it. Does he want it to look a certain way? Sure. If it doesn't and you win, you win. Ryan Poles don't care how we get the players on this team. He just cares if we get them on this team. So I think that it's good for the mindset and what we're seeing on the football field. It's bad for the PR sense. That's kind of what this team has become.
I get it. Obviously, as like team president and CEO, he has a job that he has to do, and he's been met with
No's at
no
every door.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I get that part. From a public relations standpoint of what it looks like the same thing that we saw on April 23rd, 2024, when they announced that whole big thing down at Soldier Field that looked like a sideshow, looked like a circus. Like, you don't want to turn your team into, have people talk about the Bears because of how good the Bears are playing right now. The fact that the Bears could be in the playoffs very, very soon.
Yeah.
If they win this weekend, Detroit loses, they're in. But even if they win and Detroit doesn't lose, they have a 96% chance to get into the postseason. Like, keep the focus. I'm not usually a stick to sports person, but like keeping the focus on the team and what they're about to accomplish instead of trying to, create this other thing of like, look over here, we've got the stadium thing going on. I get
As a sports fan, I think it doesn't sit right. It does take away from the work. I shouldn't say it takes away. It takes the focus away from the work that the players have put in to be in this position. Like, there is every Chicago Bears show today, every podcast, every radio show more than likely started off talking about the stadium instead of talking about Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, this matchup in the Packers. So I get it from that sense. I will say, as a sports fan, when the news hit last night, I just rolled my eyes. I was like, I got to drop a video on this. This is it's goofy that we're here. To use a Chicago, it's very goofy. Like, it's goofy energy. So like, I just get it done. And I think here's the part that Bears fans, if the Bears are winning, we'll go watch them in a high school stadium. Like, if the Bears are winning, we'll go to a Pop Warner field. And it doesn't matter. It just matters that you want to get this done your way. And that's what this feels like.
And, the more time we wait on this, because it's been a couple years now after they told people they were going to break ground in 2024. It didn't happen. They told people they were going to break ground in 2025 or move dirt around, whatever the phrase was. That has not happened. The messaging keeps changing. There doesn't feel like there's much consistency when you're saying, all right, Arlington, we have $100 million impasse summer of 2023. Yeah. We've got to re-explore sites. Day before the draft, all right, we're going to focus on going to Chicago. Okay, now the focus is now Chicago and Arlington Heights. Okay, now it's Arlington Heights only. Okay, now it's Arlington Heights, Chicagoland, and Northwest Indiana.
Waukegan got in there at one point.
What was the Aurora? Like,
Aurora got in there at one point.
Like, that's just like, I think fans have a good bullshit meter, and they understand, like, when some of these towns like see an opportunity, like the North Chicago Bears, like all these things that could potentially be part of the conversation. Like, they see it and they're like, yeah, right. Yeah. And until it just feels like it's a lot of words right now and not a lot of action. And I get the frustration behind that because it's distracting from what's really good right now, which is this team.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this team a little bit because they are really good, and we got to get into this Bears-Packers game because it is uber important. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. You've mentioned it a couple of times. This is the biggest game that this Bears team is going to play for a little while here, and I mean, when you talk about like the momentum that this game could build, just I remember, I think it was 05. The Bears, the actual 05 season end of it, the Bears finished the season beating the Packers. Maybe it was 04. But then that was like the moment where it was like, oh, this team might actually be different. Like, they've had a nice little run here at the end. This might be different. I don't think that you need to beat Green Bay to prove that you are the team that you are. I think Ben Johnson said it very well. But it would sure do a lot for the people around here that maybe are still on the fence to say, this matchup is the biggest game ever. The spotlights are all on you. It's only you on Saturday. We got to tap in, and you got to go out there and perform and beat a team that you were this close to beating. being this close to beating them doesn't matter if they come in here and put up 35 on you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see what this team is able to do. Got to get to our underdog play because I think coming into this game here, Courtney, I think it's going to be a big day for Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I think the passing attack has kind of found something after that Browns game. And so for the underdog play this week, I'm taking the higher on Caleb Williams, 214.5 pass yards. I think he's going to be able to move the ball a little bit better this week. I think what we saw in that second half with the pairing of him and the run game truly unlocked something. And, oh, by the way, Micah Parsons will not be standing on the other side.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson pointing out on Monday all of the mechanic things that Caleb Williams did well. He was where he needed to be in his drop. His eyes were in the right place.
Yeah.
Felt like he was adjusting to reading coverages and anticipating things better than he did previously. Like, that was his best game of the year.
Yeah.
And if he can replicate that, he said it himself. He's like, if I can play that way or the way I've played in some previous games, like, this team can go as far as it wants to go. To do that against Green Bay, I think is critical because Green Bay is a playoff caliber team. Now, they look different than where the Bears played them than when the Bears played them 2 weeks ago because they're super banged up. They don't have their star defensive player anymore, but are they a playoff team at the moment? Yeah. So, like, taking advantage of a team that you were this close to beating and having Caleb put that on himself. I know that that's bothered him. He's talked about, like, the fact that, you know, replaying that interception and how the game came down. Like, he wants to be the guy who always has the ball in his hands to end the game. If you get that chance again, you have to do it differently. And I just feel like he needed a palate cleanser, which was what that Cleveland Browns game was. But now going into this game, doesn't feel like you're going to have Rome Odunze, does not feel like you're going to have Luther Burden, two very big absences that they had to deal with at the second half last week with Burden going out and without Rome Odunze the last two games. I think they can get it done. I mean, there's a reason that the line started shifting on this game to a pick'em yesterday. And if the Bears are able to set the tone the way that they did with that 14-0 start against Cleveland, I think that they're looking at this game winning by a touchdown or more at home, feeding off the energy of the crowd, the Saturday night primetime spot, and the world becomes a little – I think people already believe in the Bears.
Yeah.
I do. I think that Philly win – you can't just keep moving the goalposts and saying, oh, well, then they lost to Green Bay the next week. No, the Philly win legitimized their schedule and what they did. But you now have the chance to right your wrongs against a team that you let get one away, get away 2 weeks ago. That goes a long way in determining, okay, you're not just a playoff team, but you're a team that can win in January once you get into the postseason.
And the one thing that we can say, again, divisional games are always difficult, right? But like the one thing we can say is Ben Johnson has found the answer, at least versus one divisional opponent already. When you look at what he was able to do versus the Minnesota Vikings, seemed like that game was going to go similarly. And then Caleb Williams in that run game are able to finish it off and actually put you up for a win in that. So being able to find answers versus what you did the first time, Ben Johnson has been really good at that. Hopefully that continues here, and I think that's going to benefit Caleb Williams. All you guys got to do is download the Underdog app today. Sign up with the promo code CBP to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code CBP. Underdog, make picks, win money. EOQ, the disclaimer.
Must be 18 years or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or over in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Your roof's got more layers than the Conspiracy Podcast.
Is that a sandwich wrapper?
Ah, yes. Vintage 1988. It really builds character.
Avondale Roofing. Inspect smarter, dig deeper, and get to the core of your roof's health.
Welcome back here on the Chicago Bears podcast. Path of Designer Courtney Cronin. Today's episode is always brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas-style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field, exit 6, right off of I-80-94. It might be a little closer to the Bears soon. We'll see what ends up happening there.
Long way before before anything's determined about where they're going.
They're going to be moving to Georgia by the time we get to the end.
To me, this like resets the clock over. Like every time there's a new one of these, it starts a discussion over again because it has to. Like it brings up a lot of things. All right, there's a news site. Like, what's feasible? How much of a tax certainty do you get? How much is it going to cost? Like, the thing that's remained kind of consistent is that they still say no matter what, they're going to guarantee $2 billion in the construction of the stadium. I just think we're going to me, this keeps pushing it back.
100%.
It'll be like 2027 by the time that they can break ground anywhere at this point.
My daughter will be in high school by the time we get in this stadium. Let's do this. Let's take a look at what we do have coming up here. I think, when you talk about the injury concerns coming into this game, went out there to practice. Now, we don't have designations on them, but usually if you don't see them stretching, it does not bode well. This would be the third straight DNP day, and Ben Johnson said it, only 2 days of practice this week for these guys, for Luther Burden, for Roma Dunze. I would assume that means do not expect them to play in this game. Does that mean this is a game that focuses much more on DJ Moore and Colston Loveland?
I think so. I think that you have very talented weapons beyond your, those top receivers. And I would still argue that DJ Moore is the number 2 in this offense more than Luther Burden, but Luther's been incredible the last couple of weeks. The more targets he gets, the more production he's putting up. But it doesn't feel likely that you're going to have him because the Bears are prioritizing the long-term goal of getting guys healthy for January, the second week of January when it's the wild card round.
We got to prepare for playoffs.
Instead of right now. You don't need Luther Burden and Roma Dunze to beat this team. I really firmly believe that. Not when you have the influx of weapons and talent elsewhere. Colston Loveland and the mismatch he creates. You can't just put a safety on him. You can't put, he's got the speed and the size, and he's not your traditional pass catching tight end. He's a hybrid. He's more of a receiver in a tight end's body, and he can still block. All of those things would make me comfortable to say, I can let my 2 receivers that need to rest because they're injured rest, because we know that DJ Moore can get his. The connection between him and Caleb Williams, his offense is better when those 2 are on the same page. But beyond that, it's not I don't think you'd be freaked out to see, Olamide Zaccheaus, Devin Duvernay, because I think those targets are going to Cole Kmet, and I think they're going to Colston Loveland. And you also have a really stout run game to running the ball and then being able to let Ben Johnson against this Micah Parsons list defense. Now you have a player that you don't have to account for lining up all over the formation up front, if they're dropping him in the cover, whatever it is. I think that allows Ben to open up his playbook more. Because you don't have one player who's your true game wrecker, which then would allow him to target whoever he wants to in the pass game.
No, I think this is going to be a big game for the Bears offense overall. I think what you saw in Cleveland, you have to take it in as real. I mean, that was the best pass defense in football, just about one of the best pass rushes in football, the second best defense in the NFL, and you made them want to quit immediately. That was impressive to see from this Ben Johnson-led offense. And you did it by being on time, on target, and being physical with guys banged up in that game. So I think I'll be honest with you. Maybe it's the same confidence I had going into the last Packer game, and they end up losing that game, but the fight was there the entire time. Courtney, without Michael Parsons out there, I feel completely confident that the Chicago Bears should win this game. All the other factors aside, your offensive line is now dominantly better than their defensive line, and that's the bottom line here. The side of Ozzie Trapillo, Joe Thuney, I mean, if you're not running the football off of that side the entire game, you're making a mistake. That's one to me where I feel like now the Bears can really go in here and do what they did in the third and fourth quarter after they had to wear that Packer defense down and run a little roughshod on the ground.
And I think it's on the other side of that, they're dealing with offensive line injuries. When we did the show on Tuesday, we weren't sure about Zach Tom and what he was going to be able to do. So he was DNP on Thursday. Josh Jacobs was DNP on Thursday. Those are 2 that Matt LaFleur said they'll give up until the game. They're veterans. They'll get that leeway of it. You tell us if you feel like you can play. Josh Jacobs says he's going to play, but you're not getting somebody who's remotely close to being healthy right now. He's got ankle and knee injuries. He took a big hit against the Denver Broncos, and he was banged up the week before when he was playing the Chicago Bears. So coming out of that week of playing the Bears, going into the Denver game. So I think from an injury standpoint, this is the week you capitalize. We are the healthier team. They might get Tremaine Edmonds back. I think that knowing what the ramp up period is going to be like for him, this is a smart play. If you can get him into a groove now on a pitch count, then by the time you hit San Francisco, by the time you hit Detroit, he's at full stride. That's good for this defense. But I think this is a pretty easy one for me to pick with picking the Bears to win by a touchdown.
You got him. What's final score?
28-21.
Oof.
So it's kind of like the inverse of last time.
I feel like this is a game where the Bears should dominate. I got them 31-21. I think that, and it sounds crazy to say versus the Green Bay Packers, but the injuries are going to play a part into this. The one thing we haven't seen the Packers do a great job of is being able to overcome the injuries with some of the receiver weapons. If Christian Watson is not a full speed weapon for you this week, that's going to be a problem. He left in an ambulance. He practiced the day. He was limited participation today. It sounds like he'll play, but if he's not full go and you're getting Jalen Johnson, who sounds like he's kind of getting himself back up to full speed, back to where you're hoping to see him in this defense, like you said, the Bears are getting healthy at the right time, and this is one of those moments where you can take advantage of a team and to me dominate the NFC North. Now you put the Packers behind the 8 ball, depends on if Detroit loses, but I think you create a good amount of distance that you feel good about winning this division at the end of the season.
Yeah, because neither team this week can lock up the NFC North no matter what. Like, It's going to come down to what happens in that Detroit game, which then determines about what the scenario is in week 17. But 96% chance to make the playoffs if you win this week. And I think it only drops to about 63%. That's what ESPN's analytics group put out in our notes. So it's still a great chance, but this is a measuring stick game more than anything else. Like, yes, it goes a long way in terms of the playoffs, but you beat Green Bay last year when they were resting some guys at the end, but you felt like you could see the energy was different when they went up there, no matter what their record was, no matter the fact that the Green Bay Packers were going to the postseason. You felt really good about that if you're in this team. And it was motivation that carried over into the first time they played. Like, this is the way that you even out the rivalry. You get people talking about the Bears as something that they're part of something that's not one-sided anymore.
And one thing that has continued, and this continued last week, Courtney, going all the way back to that last game of the last season, the Bears have really wounded teams going into that next week. The Packers, you set the Packers up for that loss by how you played them. That first game in the playoffs, I should say, when they lost to Philly. This season, the Bears, teams after the week of playing the Bears, have really not had a productive season. Below 500, I think they've only allowed 2 or 3 wins the week after. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, the physicality this team is bringing. Are the Packers going to be able to fight back with that in this game? I asked Jurko that yesterday. He was like, I don't think so. Like, you're missing too many people. Micah Parsons was your physicality on that defensive end. So hopefully that continues this week, and we just messed the Packer season up all the way around, although apparently Micah Parsons did that. Is it weird that, like, every Packer fan went from, like, we're going to the Super Bowl, we believe in Jordan Love, to the second Micah Parsons was out, it was like, well, that's the season, hang them up, boys.
Well, I think it's because you had a Super Bowl caliber defense that you could rely on, and now you're worried about whether you can rely on Jordan Love, because you've seen him in the postseason. You saw the youngest team, one of the youngest teams in NFL history, go down to Dallas, win that game, and then fall apart in San Francisco
versus San Fran. Yeah.
Like, there's just not a lot of proof of concept yet with Jordan Love, where you were hoping, if you were a Packers fan, to lean on Micah Parsons, lean on this defense and this pass rush to get you over the hump. I can understand, like, why they feel that way.
Yeah, it's fun. That's why I said I love Jordan Love. He's exactly what I've always wanted the Packers to have. Hey, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in to Show and Love. As always, hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Let us know how you guys feel in the comments below, and make sure that you tune in for the episode tomorrow with me and J Mac. We got a special surprise coming on that episode, and you do not want to miss it. For Courtney Cronin, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.